Welcome to lesson number 4 on crafting your pricing strategy. So, a lot of pricing strategy is going to be personal preference, but here are some ideas of things that I have seen work. First is a multi student discount. And here's kind of how you could look at that. So, if we go back and we look at our small group pricing, we looked at the base rate and the student facing time and the prep time, which meant that for a 1-hour class of 4 students, it would take 2 hours of our time, 1 hour prep and 1 hour student facing. And then that brought us to $600 a month looking at our time investment. And then we divide that by 4 to come up with $150 per student for a 1-hour class once a month, which is a 50% discount from what our one-on-one students would be getting at the $75 for a 1-hour session pricing. But you don't necessarily need to give that much of a discount when you're looking at multi-student pricing. A 20 to 30% discount is still a pretty nice savings for your students and families. So instead of a 50% discount for a group of 4 to 6 students, you could do a 30% discount, and that still gives them a pretty nice savings of $100 off a month per person, and allows you to maximize the amount of money that you can earn in that time slot, in that hour or two, or with 6 students, it would end up being about a 2.5-hour commitment for you for 1 hour a week. So if you're doing just based on your time commitment of 2.5 hours a week, then that would make 450 divided by 4. What's that, about 175 a week? Just under 175 a week. You can make even more money just by offering less of a discount and end up maximizing the amount of money that you can earn from those time slots. And of course, the smaller the size of the group, the higher the value is for your students, because the more personalized attention they're going to be able to get from you. So instead of just charging the flat, what the formula comes up with at a flat rate, that comes out to being a 50% discount for a group of 4 students. If it's only 2 students, they're still going to get more one-on-one and personalized educational experience than someone in a class of 4 to 6 students. So I would even take that back further. Instead of what would have been a 50% for 4 to 6 students, and then I worked backwards there. So 50 to 40 to 30, you could just take that where it would be at the 50% mark, drop it to 30%, and then back 5% for each of these other student categories of 3 students and 2 students. This is the way I have it on my website for my small group lessons. Another way that you can do it is a multi-month discount. So when you're working with a family, when you're going through that initial phase of when you're deciding whether or not to work together, there's usually a moment of, I'm not sure about the pricing, a moment where even if you have all of your pricing posted on your website, which honestly is what I recommend. I very rarely will reach out for more information if people don't post their prices on their website. That's just me personally. So if you don't mind doing that, then, there's a whole lot of psychology behind whether or not to post your prices on website or whether or not to. My guide or rule of thumb is to think of yourself as a consumer. Which do you prefer? And then let that inform the way you function in your business. I personally I'm an introvert, and I prefer to be able to do all the calculations and decide if it's something I even want to investigate further. I want to be able to see the pricing on the website to know what I'm getting into and whether or not I can make it work in my budget. I don't want to set myself up for a high pressure sales situation as a consumer. And so I don't set up my clients, either my teacher clients or my student clients, in those kind of high pressure sales situations. That's just kind of my 2 cents on that. But there is usually a moment of where you're sort of negotiating your prices. Yes, you have a base rate. Yes, you have an amount that you're going to charge and that you use to calculate the pricing for your different items on your menu of service. But if you need to have a little bit of wiggle room, this is a nice way to do it, the multi-month discount. So if they sign a contract or an agreement to do 3 months or 6 months or 9+ months, doesn't mean they're going to pay it all. They're still going to pay monthly, but you can offer them a discount or an incentive. And that gives both of you it gives them a discount, and it even gives you a little bit of peace of mind and just knowing that you're going to get that consistent income coming in for that next period. I do recommend having some sort of a signed contract or agreement or something. And you also, in that document, you want to have your terms of service, which we'll talk about in the next video. Another way that you can do it is to break it up by course or do like a workshop style pricing. So you can, again, break that up into 3, 6, or 9-month payments. With my adult students or my independent study students that I meet once a week on a weekly basis, they pay per month. But then I also have students that are paying by course, and I only meet with them during the school year. So they want, a curriculum that's consistent with a level French 1 course or French 2 or French 3 honors or whatever it is that they're looking for. And so I give them a price for the course, and personally, I guarantee to work with them for 2 hours a week. I give them a price for the course, and then I price it out backwards from there and break it into a monthly payment. So even if in December, I'm not going to be meeting with them as much because of our holidays and their holidays, and that's just how it's going to work out. I'm still going to be bringing in the same amount of money that month, even if I only meet with them 4 times, as opposed to the 8 times I might meet with them in another month. So that's another way that you can do it, is by taking a course and saying, okay, well, this course is $2,000 and it runs over this period of time. This is how frequently it meets. How would you like to break that down? Do you want to break that down into 6-month, 3-month, 9-month monthly payments? And you're giving them the opportunity to work with you as far as what's going to come out of their monthly budget as well. Some prefer to just put the whole thing on the credit card, pay it all at once, and then just have that one bill to look at paying at the end of every month. And that's just their one credit card payment. So that's another way to do it. You as the business owner, your job is to stand firm in your pricing that you feel comfortable with and that you feel is a fair value for what you have to offer. And it is up to your client to figure out how they want to proceed. You don't get to make that decision for them. You have created a fair pricing menu to go with what you are able to provide, and you feel good in that. And then it is up to your prospective clients to figure out how to proceed from there. You do have a little bit of wiggle room as far as if you wanted to do something like the multi-month discount, or you can offer to let them share their slot with somebody else and get a little bit of a discount. You can do referral bonuses if they refer somebody else, and then they can get maybe one of their sessions for free, or they can get a percentage off of their next month's lesson, or however you want to do it. Like I said in the very beginning, it's highly individualized. It's personal. It's your business. So know that you always have the freedom to do it however you want, and in a way that feels right for you. Now, I'm not going to take credit for this. I cannot take credit for this because this package pricing strategy was developed by one of the teachers in my program, Steph, who is the owner of Learn and Roam. And she has hers broken down by the number of lessons. So people will purchase a package of lessons, and she charges a tuition first. And then from there, they have a monthly payment that's spaced out. And this helps to weed out the tire kickers, which would be like the people who, I find this a lot with tutoring, not so much with teaching. When somebody comes in and they want me to teach them, and I differentiate that by saying, as a teacher, I'm the primary instructor. As a tutor, I'm providing supplemental instruction. So as a teacher, I don't tend to get a lot of tire kickers, but when I offered tutoring, I did, which would be the people who are just kind of checking you out. They might sign up for a couple of classes here and there. Like maybe they want help preparing for a test, or they want help, with a project or just a specific concept or whatnot, but they don't tend to be the students that you have for longevity or for longer periods of time. This type of packaging is probably, if I ever were to take on tutoring students again, I would do it this way, because I want that guaranteed investment. I do not get no-shows with my teaching clients, but I have had no-shows with my tutoring clients. And this, I think, would be a really good way of helping to deal with that. And one of the things she pointed out was that this gave her a quick injection of money into her business on the front end that helped her to pay some expenses later. So by charging that tuition and deposit in the very beginning, that it not only encouraged students to show up for those sessions because they already have some skin in the game, they've already paid some money, but it has given her that quick injection of money that her household finances and her business need. I do want to put this in here. I know it can feel counterintuitive. Some teachers I've worked with, they're like, nope, that makes perfect sense. And hopefully you're in that category. You're like, actually, I would charge even more for that. I started $120, and I do know teachers who charge $120 an hour for their teaching. So don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility. But the majority of teachers that I've worked with, they want to start lower. They want to start at like 50 or 40. I even had a teacher start at $25 an hour for her lessons. Like, no. I know it can feel counterintuitive, but your pricing, especially when you're advertising and you're putting it out there, what your pricing is, your pricing affects the perceived value of your services. So if you are offering free sessions, what you are communicating is that there's no value or that there's not a lot of value. People still have this idea that they get what they pay for. And if you were offering somebody a Mercedes-Benz for $2,000 or, a luxury vehicle, I don't really know my cars, so that was not the best one for me. But you were offering them a luxury vehicle at a severely discounted price, people would feel that intuitively. I think something is wrong. And I find that happens for some teachers with their businesses, that they price it too low. And so it means that it's not communicating the actual value of what it is that teacher can offer. Sometimes it's even communicating a diminished value or something that just doesn't feel right to the consumer. And so they end up getting no students whatsoever, even when they're charging $10. Why do you got to slash the price so hard? Maybe it's not worth my time to show up for something like that. So just be aware of that. When you're putting a premium price, people are thinking, okay, well, it must be worth that. Because that's another way that people tend to think about the value of their money. So if they're going to make a time investment as well, is it going to be worth their time investment and their monetary investment? So all of that, what you communicate in your pricing is also communicating about the value of what you have to offer via your services or your products. And once I finally raised my prices, and this is the other part, and had confidence in them, I stopped being asked for discounts. And that is the little piece of coaching I'm going to add in here with this. Is if you don't feel comfortable with your prices, then I want you to walk around the house, and every time you walk past a mirror, stop and say, my base rate is $75 an hour. My base rate is $75 an hour. My price for this workshop is this. My price for this workshop is this. And just keep saying it. And I would say it when I was walking my dog. I wanted to build some muscle memory around it. I wanted it to just fly out of my mouth, because what I found I was doing in my sales calls, my calls with prospective students, was I was hemming and hawing. I was putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And in my head, every time it came time to say the price that I was charging for that particular service or product, and I didn't say it, I was taking money off of it. I was saying, okay, I was taking $5 off. I'm like, okay, it's only $70. And the next time I go to say it, it was $65. And the next time I would go to say it and not say it, it dropped down to $60. That lack of confidence in your pricing is when people start to ask for discounts. Once I said the base price is $75 and I was perfectly comfortable with it and I believed it, the person on the other side of the call said, okay, how do you want me to do that? Should I pay that in the beginning of the month, the end of the month? Then it turned into when to pay, not what to pay. And I will see you in the next video.